Human trafficking is the illegal movement of people, usually for forced labor or sexual slavery. Human trafficking is an ongoing problem all over the world.
Trafficking people starts with either luring, abduction, or tricking them. Next, traffickers threaten, set up benefits, or use their abuse of power to ensure the victims can escape due to fear and physical restrictions. The purpose of the abduction can range from the removal of organs to the more common purpose, sexual slavery.
While human trafficking affects all genders, sexual slavery occurs 98% of the time to women and 2% of the time to men. The typical age of a girl sold into prostitution or a brothel is in between the age of 12 and 14.
Gender inequality contributes to human trafficking because in some cultures women are looked at as disposable. The low opinion of women creates a society dynamic where men can get what they want with money and has nothing to do with emotional relations. The women in brothels are thought of as dirty. Nobody seems to realize they are victims.
लोग दलित लोग थे जो कि इस बिरादरी में नट में आते हैं, जो डेरा डंडा वाले होते हैं, जो ठाकुर लोग पहले थे, जमींदार लोग थे, ब्राह्मण ठाकुर लोग थे, वो पैसे वाले थे और उनके वहाँ किसानी खेती करते थे। दिन भर किसानी खेती करते थे। बहन बिटिया जो रहती थी तो उनके भाई लड़के और ख़ुद भी जो दारू वारू पी के होश हवास उतारने के लिए दलितों के घर में बैठते थे, उनको काम पे लगा देते तो बहनों बिटियों को लालच देके इस तरीके से हरकत करते थे। तो इसी आधार पे ही ये लोग बिजनेस मान लीजिए या वो मजबूरी पे मान लीजिए।
The severity of trafficking in one country is divided into tiers. Tier 1 has little trafficking, Tier 2 has a mild amount of trafficking, and Tier 3 has a large problem with human trafficking.
When looking at the amounts of trafficking in one area, you begin to see a pattern. Less developed countries tend to belong to Tier 3, while more developed countries belong typically to Tier 1. Countries in Tier 3 include Venezuela, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Madagascar, Zaire, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkmenistan, Libya, North Korea, and many more.
Although America is a Tier 1 country, we still have an underlying problem with human trafficking that is rarely acknowledged. Human trafficking in America is most prevalent in New York, Texas, and specifically Las Vegas. While those areas may have the most trafficking, it still happens all over America.
Contrary to popular belief, human trafficking is happening in Massachusetts and even on Cape Cod. Just recently, a law was passed that a prostitute under 18 has been trafficked and is treated as a victim, not a criminal. This helps to prevent criminalization of victims and will help put a detriment in trafficking.
This time frame marked the start of the European slave trading in Africa, with the Portuguese for using them as slaves.
International agreement for the suppression of white slave traffic was signed and put into action. This was put in to protect women from the white slave traffic, forced prostitution.
The League of Nations was formed after World War I and focused on international issues such as human trafficking. The white slave traffic was changed to traffic in women and children, so there was no discrimination of race.
During World War II, Japan had set up brothels where women all across Asia were forced into sexual slavery. The Japanese government set up these comfort stations to prevent rape, crimes in public, prevent the spread of STDs, and provide comfort to soldiers so they wouldn't tell military secrets.
India initiated the Immortal Traffic Prevention Act that persecuted third parties involved in trafficking. This act was an effort to control trafficking, but it did not work well due to the fact that victims were put in even more dangerous brothels.
The UN addressed the issue of trafficking of women at the Fourth World Conference. It was here that trafficking was addressed as an act of violence against women, and actions were taken against it, such as setting up laws and enforcement.
President Obama declared January to be the Human Trafficking Awareness Month and January 11 as the National Human Trafficking Awareness Day.
Massachusetts is trying to pass a law saying that women under age 18 who have been trafficked or is involved in prostitution will be treated as victims opposed to being ridiculed. The law is underway and is expected to pass.
As human trafficking grows as an industry with an estimated $32 billion value, the awareness increases. While just a couple years ago there was no data on human trafficking, and now there are headline stories regarding trafficking on the Cape.
When I was fairly young. I was about 13, and I got involved in the wrong crowd. He told me he would take care of me. He would be my best friend. He'd be there for me when I needed him.
But her dream boyfriend turned into a nightmare.
After a while, he began to get really controlling. He got me involved in drugs, really heavy drugs, and to the point where sometimes I'd come home and I didn't know my own family.
And that was just the beginning. At what point did you start to begin to realize, hey, this guy is not a good guy?
Realized it one night when he kind of lured me out of my house to go to a party. He drugged me up without consent from me, and it took me back in the room, and he just continued to have his way with me the whole time.
Soon after, Courtney found herself caught in the dangerous and terrifying world of human sex trafficking.
They would give me alcohol, and they'd give me drugs, and they would ask me to do certain things for them that I was never willing to do. And they were sex trafficking me to many of their friends.
A sweet teenage girl held captive in the basement of a house against her will.
I didn't eat for that week. Basically, all that was in my system was drugs and alcohol.
How did you survive?
A part of me didn't. Part of me died that day. Part of me still is dead from that.
Awareness can vary between written ads or displays. Prevention correlates with awareness because in order for people to stop this, they must know how many people are affected each year. One woman who is a remarkable leader in a fight to end trafficking is Somali Mom. Once a victim herself, she is now a public advocate for trafficking around the world.
Her actions speak louder than her words, as she has saved thousands of girls from brothels and trafficking. Her efforts are large and brave. While certain individuals are public figures for prevention, it is up to everyone to stand up and fight against human trafficking. Prevention is as simple as people not buying sex because there would be no customers or money for the industry.
The significant malicious industry of human trafficking is growing stronger each year. As pain and suffering among these victims increases, so does the amount of people paying for humans. To stop the kidnapping and torture of people, we need to raise awareness on the painful industry that affects women and men all over the world.